The dust never stopped blowing on this dead planet. It covered everything in a thin red layer that got into clothes, food, and lungs. Minji coughed again, a dry sound that hurt her chest. She was too tired to cover her mouth anymore. Her brother Hyun knelt beside her in the corner of the old storage building they called home. He held a cup of water to her lips. The water was brown and tasted like metal, but Minji drank it anyway. Every drop mattered now, just a little more, Hyun said softly. His voice sounded older than his 14 years. You need to stay strong. Minji nodded, but they both knew the truth. She was dying. They were all dying, just at different speeds. The colony of Dust's End had been abandoned 3 years ago. The mining company took their ships and left when the valuable minerals ran out. They promised to send rescue vessels for the workers and their families. Those ships never came. Now 300 people remained, forgotten by the galaxy that had brought them here. Outside, the wind howled against the thin metal walls. Minji closed her eyes and tried to remember better days. She remembered her mother's face, warm and smiling. Captain Jiwon had left 5 years ago on an exploration mission. She had promised to come back. Minji had been only 3 years old then, but she remembered the promise. Mom will come, Minji whispered. Hyun's face twisted with pain. He didn't want to tell his little sister the truth. Their mother was probably dead, lost somewhere in deep space. Even if she was alive, she would never find them here. The colony's communications array had broken down 2 years ago. No signals went out. No signals came in. Rest now, Hyun said. He stood up and grabbed the empty water container. I'll get more water from the collector. Minji watched him leave. She hated being so weak. Once she had run through these corridors playing with other children. Now she could barely sit up. Hunger had made her bones show through her skin. Her arms looked like thin sticks. The door opened again, but it wasn't Hyun. Elder Daehyun walked in, his steps slow and heavy. He had been a strong man once, a mine supervisor with a loud laugh. Now he looked like a ghost, pale and thin. How is she? He asked, already knowing the answer. Sleeping, someone replied. It was Mrs. Isul from the next room. She had lost her own daughter last month. Daehyun shook his head. The Chitauri ship will arrive tomorrow. Maybe they'll have supplies. Mrs. Isul laughed bitterly. They never bring enough. They take what little we have left and throw us scraps. Minji kept her eyes closed but listened. The Chitauri were insect-like aliens who still visited the colony every few months. They came to take the last bits of equipment, the final pieces of valuable metal. They gave the humans almost nothing in return. The next morning came too quickly. Minji heard the roar of engines as the Chitauri ship landed. The sound made the building shake. She heard footsteps outside, the clicking sounds that the Chitauri made when they walked on their multiple legs. Hyun returned and helped Minji sit up. Stay here, he said. I'll go see what they brought. But Minji wanted to see. She needed to know if there was food, real food, not the gray fungus they grew in the dark corners of the buildings. With Hyun's help, she walked outside. The Chitauri ship sat in the center of the colony, a dark shape against the red sky. Several Chitauri moved around it, their armored bodies gleaming. One of them stood taller than the others. This was Vrathnok, the overseer who always came. Vrathnok's multiple eyes looked at the gathered humans. His mandibles clicked together in what might have been laughter. Pathetic, he said in the common trade language. His translator made his voice sound flat and cold. You soft-bodied creatures still cling to life here. Why? Elder Daehyun stepped forward. We have nowhere else to go. Please, we need food. Medicine, we have children dying. Vrathnok turned his large head toward Minji. All of his eyes focused on her at once. That small one? She will be dead within days. Why waste resources? Minji felt Hyun's hand tighten on her shoulder. His whole body tensed with anger, but he said nothing. They couldn't afford to anger the Chitauri. We're willing to work, Daehyun continued. Give us supplies and we'll salvage more equipment for you. Work? Vrathnok made that clicking sound again. You have nothing left to offer. The Galactic Trade Consortium has marked this world as dead. We come only to collect the final scraps. After this visit, we will seal the system. No more ships will come. You will die here and the galaxy will forget you ever existed. The words hit like physical blows. Several colonists began to cry. Others just stared at the ground, too exhausted for tears. Humanity was a mistake, Vrathnok continued. He seemed to enjoy this. Your species reached for the stars too soon. You are weak. You break easily. The galaxy has no place for failures like you. Minji felt something hot rise in her chest. It wasn't anger exactly. It was something else. Something that pushed through the exhaustion and hunger. She stepped away from Hyun. "My mother is out there," she said. Her voice came out as barely a whisper, but in the quiet colony everyone heard. "She's alive. And she's coming." Vrathnok's eyes focused on her again. "Your mother? Another dead human floating in space? Even if she lived, how would she find you? How would she reach you? Accept your fate, small creature." "She'll come," Minji said again, stronger this time. She promised. The overseer turned away, already bored. "Unload the supplies," he ordered his workers. "The minimum amount. These creatures will be dead before we return anyway." The Chitauri threw down 3 containers of food pellets and 2 boxes of basic medical supplies. It was enough to keep the colony alive for maybe 2 weeks, no more. Then they returned to their ship and left, the engines throwing up clouds of red dust. That night, Minji lay in her corner, unable to sleep. The wind had picked up again, and the building groaned under its force. Hyun had tried to make her eat some of the food pellets, but her stomach couldn't keep them down anymore. "Tell me about Mom," Minji said quietly. Hyun settled beside her. He had told these stories 100 times, but he told them again. He spoke of their mother's strength, her intelligence, her fierce love for her children. He spoke of the day she left, crying but determined to help humanity find new worlds to settle. "She made me promise to take care of you," Hyun said. "And I'm trying, Minji, I'm really trying." "You're doing good," Minji replied. She reached out and took his hand. "But Mom will be here soon, I know it. I can feel it." Outside, a dust storm began to build. The sky turned darker red and the wind screamed. Minji closed her eyes and thought of stars, of ships moving through the darkness, of a mother who had made a promise. Somewhere far away, across impossible distances, that promise was being kept. 3 weeks passed like a slow death. Minji slipped in and out of consciousness, her body finally giving up the fight. Hyun refused to leave her side. He held her hand and whispered stories even when she couldn't respond anymore. The colony had lost 12 more people. Every morning someone else didn't wake up. Elder Daehyun had stopped counting. He just helped dig the graves in the hard ground outside the settlement. Far across the galaxy, 47 light-years away, Captain Ji-won stood on the bridge of her ship. The vessel was called the Indomitable, and it was unlike any ship the galaxy had seen before. It looked like a human exploration cruiser on the outside, but inside, it carried weapons and technology that would make the great powers of the galaxy very nervous. Ji-won stared at the display screen in front of her. The message had taken 2 years to reach her, traveling through space at the speed of light. It was a simple emergency beacon, the kind that dying colonies sent out when all other communications failed. But this wasn't just any colony. This was Dust's End. This was where she had left her children. "Play it again," she said quietly. Her first officer, Tae-yang, touched a control. The message filled the bridge. It was Hyun's voice, younger than she remembered, cracking with emotion. "Mom, if you're out there, if this message finds you, please come home. They left us. Everyone left us. The company took their ships and abandoned the colony. We're dying here. Minji is sick. She's so sick, Mom, she needs you. We all need you. Please, please come home." The message ended. Silence filled the bridge. Ji-won's hands gripped the edge of the console so hard her knuckles turned white. She had been gone for 5 years, exploring the deep reaches of space that no human had visited before. She had made discoveries that changed everything for humanity. She had found ancient technology, formed alliances with other species, helped build the foundation for humanity's rise, but she had left her children behind to do it. "Captain," Tae-yang said carefully, "Dust's End is very far away. To reach it, we would have to cross through Vreen hegemony space. They don't allow human ships to pass through their territory. It would take weeks of travel at maximum FTL speed. We'd have to push the engines beyond safe limits." Ji-won turned to face her crew. There were 30 people on the bridge, all watching her, waiting. They were good people, loyal people. They had followed her into dangerous situations before. "My daughter is dying," Ji-won said simply. "My son is watching her die. I made them a promise 5 years ago. I told them I would come back. I'm going to keep that promise." Dr. Sun-hee, the ship's medical officer, stepped forward. She was a small woman with steady hands and a brilliant mind. "The message is 2 years old. Captain, we need to prepare ourselves for the possibility that—" "Don't," Ji-won cut her off. Her voice was steel. "Don't say it. We're going to Dust's End and we're going to save them. All of them. Taeyang nodded slowly. The Vreen won't be happy. They might consider it an act of war. Then they'll learn something new about humanity, Jiwon replied. She turned to the navigation officer. Plot a course. Fastest route possible. I don't care if we have to go through every hostile system between here and there. The officer's fingers flew over the controls. Course plotted. We'll need to make 3 FTL jumps. Total travel time, if the engines hold, 19 days. 19 days. Jiwon closed her eyes. Would her children last 19 more days? Would she arrive only to bury them in that red dust? No. She wouldn't allow that thought. She would tear through space itself if she had to. All hands prepare for immediate departure, she announced over the ship-wide communication system. We have a rescue mission. This is personal, and I won't order anyone to come with me if they don't want to. But I'm going, with or without you. No one moved to leave. Instead, the crew moved to their stations with purpose. They had been together for 3 years, exploring the darkness beyond known space. They were more than a crew. They were family. The Indomitable's engines powered up, a deep thrumming that filled every deck. The ship broke orbit from the ancient station where they had been docked, studying alien artifacts. Those artifacts would have to wait. Jump in 3, 2, 1 to mark. Reality twisted. The stars stretched into lines and the ship entered faster than light travel. Back on Dust's End, Minji's breathing had become shallow and irregular. Hyun held her hand, feeling how cold it had become. Mrs. Isul sat with him, keeping watch through the night. She's strong, Mrs. Isul said softly. She's fighting. I don't know how much fight she has left, Hyun replied. His voice was hollow. Maybe it would be kinder to let her go. Don't say that. Don't ever say that. Hyun looked down at his sister's pale face. She looked so small, so fragile. He remembered when she was born, how their mother had let him hold her. He had promised then to always protect her. He was failing. Days passed in space as the Indomitable raced toward its destination. The ship's engines ran hot, pushed beyond their design limits. Engineering crews worked around the clock to keep them stable. On the 10th day, they entered Vreen hegemony space. Vreen patrol ships approaching, the sensor officer reported. 3 cruisers. They're hailing us. Ignore them, Jiwon ordered. Full speed ahead. Captain, they're arming weapons. Let them try. The Vreen ships opened fire, energy beams lancing through space. The Indomitable's shields absorbed the hits easily. These weren't ordinary human shields. They were built using technology that humanity had discovered in the deep dark. Technology that the established galactic powers didn't know existed yet. Return fire, Jiwon said calmly. Disable only. We don't have time for a fight. The Indomitable's weapons fired. They were precise and devastating. Within minutes, all 3 Vreen ships were drifting. Their engines dead, but their crews alive. Jump in 5 seconds, navigation reported. The ship jumped again, leaving the shocked Vreen behind. Word began to spread through certain channels of the galactic network. A human ship had violated Vreen space and disabled their patrol with ease. Questions were being asked. When had humans developed such capability? What else were they hiding? On Dust's End, the situation grew worse. Minji had stopped responding to anything. Her eyes remained closed, her breathing barely visible. Hyun had stopped eating. He just sat with her hour after hour, day after day. Elder Daehyun came to see them one evening. Hyun, he said gently, you should rest. Let someone else watch her for a while. No, Hyun replied. I promised Mom I'd take care of her. I'm not leaving. Your mother isn't coming, son. I'm sorry, but you need to accept that. Hyun looked up at him with red eyes. She'll come. Minji said she would. She promised. That same day, the Indomitable made its final jump. The ship dropped out of FTL space at the edge of the Dust's End system. The sensors immediately began scanning. Colony detected, the sensor officer said. Life signs are present but weak. Very weak, Jiwon's heart pounded. How many? 288. Captain, that's less than the colony's recorded population. So many dead, so many lives lost because the galaxy didn't care about a failed mining operation on a forgotten world. Full speed to the planet, Jiwon ordered, and charge all weapons. If anyone tries to stop us, they'll regret it. The Indomitable accelerated toward Dust's End. As it approached, something else appeared on the sensors. Chitauri automated defense platforms detected, the tactical officer reported. They're targeting us. Destroy them, Jiwan said. There was no mercy in her voice. The Indomitable's weapons spoke. One by one, the Chitauri platforms exploded, lighting up the space around the planet. On the surface, people looked up at the sky. They saw the flashes of light bright against the red dust clouds. What's happening? Someone asked. Elder Daehyun stared upward, his mouth open. A ship. There's a ship in orbit. In the makeshift hospital, Hyun felt Minji's hand twitch. Her eyes moved beneath her closed lids. Her lips moved, forming words. She's coming, Minji whispered, so quiet only Hyun could hear. Mom's coming. I told you. Hyun looked up at the ceiling as if he could see through it to the sky beyond. Hope, that dangerous and beautiful thing, began to grow in his chest. Above them, the Indomitable entered orbit. Its shadow fell across the dying colony like the hand of God. The ground shook. It started as a low rumble that grew into a roar. Buildings trembled. Loose metal sheets rattled. People stumbled outside, looking up at the sky in confusion and fear. They had lived through dust storms and equipment failures, but this was different. This was power. The Indomitable descended through the atmosphere like a falling star. Its engines burned bright against the red sky, pushing back the eternal dust clouds. The ship was massive, larger than anything that had ever landed on Dust's End before. Its hull was dark metal decorated with human symbols and strange markings that no one in the colony recognized. Elder Daehyun stood in the center of the settlement, watching the impossible sight. Tears ran down his weathered face. It's real, he whispered. Someone actually came. Hyun burst out of the hospital building, his heart racing. He had left Minji for just a moment, unable to believe what he was seeing. The ship was real. It was here. But whose ship was it? The Indomitable landed in the open area where the Chitauri ship usually touched down. Its landing gear extended, each foot larger than a building. The engine noise faded to a deep hum, and then silence fell. The dust began to settle. A ramp descended from the ship's belly. Lights blazed from inside, bright and clean and so different from the dim emergency lights the colonists had lived with for years. Figures appeared at the top of the ramp. They wore armor, sleek and advanced, carrying weapons that looked like they belonged in a future the colonists couldn't imagine. But they were human. Every single one of them was human. And then she appeared. Captain Jiwon walked down the ramp with purpose in every step. She wore a command uniform that seemed both practical and ceremonial. Her face was harder than Hyun remembered, marked by years of command and difficult decisions. But her eyes were the same. Those were his mother's eyes. Where is the hospital? Jiwon's voice carried across the settlement, amplified by her suit's speakers. Where is my daughter? Hyun couldn't move. His legs had stopped working. His mother was here. She was real. She had come. Hyun. Jiwon's eyes found him in the crowd. She broke into a run. Time seemed to slow down. Hyun watched his mother cross the distance between them. Then she was there, grabbing him, pulling him into an embrace that was fierce and desperate. She smelled like metal and engine oil and something else, something that was purely her. He hadn't realized how much he had missed that smell. I'm here, Jiwon said, holding him tight. I'm sorry it took so long. I'm so sorry. Where is Minji? She's dying, Mom. The words broke something inside Hyun. She's been holding on, but I don't think she has much time left. Jiwon released him and turned to the soldiers who had followed her down the ramp. Dr. Sun-hee, medical team, now! A woman in medical gear rushed forward, followed by several others carrying advanced equipment. Jiwon grabbed Hyun's hand. Show me. They ran to the hospital building. It was barely a hospital, just a storage room with some old beds and basic supplies. But it was all the colony had. Minji lay on one of the beds, barely breathing. Mrs. Isul sat beside her, holding the child's hand. Jiwon froze in the doorway. For just a moment, the strong captain disappeared, replaced by a mother seeing her dying child. Then she moved, crossing to the bed and dropping to her knees. Minji, she said softly. Baby, I'm here. Mom's here. Minji's eyes moved beneath her closed lids. Her hand twitched. Dr. Sun-hee pushed past them, already scanning Minji with a device that glowed blue. Severe malnutrition, multiple organ failure beginning, dehydration, infection in the lungs. She looked at Jiwon. Captain, she's very weak, but she's fighting. She's still fighting. Then help her fight harder, Jiwon said. Do whatever you need to do. The medical team went to work with efficiency that came from years of training. They set up equipment that looked like magic to the colonists who had gathered at the door. IV lines were inserted. Monitors began to beep. A breathing mask was placed over Minji's face. "Mom." The word was so quiet that Jiwon almost missed it. She leaned close to her daughter's face. Minji's eyes had opened, just barely. They were cloudy with sickness, but they focused on Jiwon's face. "I'm here, sweetheart," Jiwon said. "I came as fast as I could." "I knew," Minji whispered. "I told them." "You promised." "Yes, I promised. And I'm here now. You're going to be okay. You're going to get better." The ground shook, just like you said it would. "When you came home?" Jiwon didn't remember saying that, but maybe she had. Maybe 5 years ago, when Minji was so small, she had promised that her return would shake the world. Children remembered things like that. "Rest now," Jiwon said. "Let the doctors help you." Minji's eyes closed again, but this time it was different. This was sleep, not unconsciousness. Her breathing steadied as the medical equipment worked. Outside, more shuttles were landing. Soldiers secured the perimeter while cargo crews began unloading supplies. Food, medicine, water purification equipment, power generators. Everything the colony needed and more. Taeyang found Jiwon still kneeling beside Minji's bed. "Captain, we have a situation." She looked up at him, her expression dangerous. "What situation?" "There's a Chitauri cargo ship in the system. They picked up our arrival and are heading this way. The overseer, Vrathnok, is demanding to know what we're doing here." Jiwon stood slowly. She looked at Minji one more time, then at Hyun. "Stay with your sister." She walked out of the building into the settlement. Her crew had been busy. Lights had been set up, turning the dark colony into something bright and clean. Colonists stood around in small groups, staring at the soldiers and equipment like it was all a dream. Elder Daehyun approached her. "Captain, I don't know who you are or how you found us, but thank you. Thank you for coming. I'm Captain Jiwon. This is my home colony. These are my children. No one else was coming, so I came myself. The Chitauri won't be happy. They control this system." "They don't control anything anymore," Jiwon said flatly. "Tell your people to gather in the center of the settlement. We have a lot to distribute, and I want everyone to see this." The Chitauri ship landed an hour later. Vrathnok emerged with his usual escort of armed guards. He clicked his mandibles in agitation when he saw the Indomitable and the human soldiers. "This is Chitauri territory," he announced. "You are trespassing. Explain yourself immediately." Jiwon walked toward him. She wasn't wearing armor like her soldiers, just her command uniform, but she moved like someone who had nothing to fear. "I'm Captain Jiwon, commander of the human vessel Indomitable. This colony is under my protection now." Vrathnok's multiple eyes focused on her. "Your protection? Humans have no authority here. The Galactic Trade Consortium abandoned this colony. The Chitauri claim salvage rights." "Salvage rights?" Jiwon's voice was cold. "There are living people here. My people, my children. You can't claim salvage rights on living beings. These humans are as good as dead. They have no resources, no way to survive. We were being generous by bringing them supplies." "Generous?" Jiwon laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You brought them barely enough to survive another few weeks. You watched them die slowly while you stripped this world bare." Vrathnok clicked his mandibles. "This is how the galaxy works. The strong survive. The weak perish." "Humanity is weak, is that what you think?" Jiwon gestured to her ship. "Tell me, Vrathnok, how did your automated defense platforms work out?" "Oh, that's right. They don't exist anymore." The overseer stiffened. "You destroyed Chitauri property. That is an act of war. Then consider us at war." Jiwon stepped closer to him. "Let me explain something to you and to anyone else in this galaxy who thinks humans are weak. We've been exploring beyond known space for 5 years. We've found things out there. Ancient technology. Powerful allies. We've been building, learning, and growing stronger while the rest of the galaxy ignored us. You're bluffing. One ship doesn't make humanity powerful." "This isn't the only ship," Taeyang said, joining his captain. "There are others like the Indomitable, and more being built. The galaxy has been so focused on their own territories and politics that they didn't notice humanity reaching for something greater." Vrathnok looked between them. His guards shifted nervously. "You will leave this system," Jiwon continued. "You will inform the Chitauri government that Dust's End is now a human protectorate. If any Chitauri ship enters this system without permission, it will be destroyed." "And Vrathnok?" "Tell them about this moment. Tell them what happened when someone threatened a human's family." The overseer stood frozen for a long moment. Then he turned and walked back to his ship without another word. His guards followed quickly. The ship lifted off minutes later, disappearing into the red sky. The colonists erupted in cheers. Elder Daehyun wiped his eyes again, overwhelmed. Hyun watched from the hospital doorway, his heart so full he thought it might burst. His mother had come. She had kept her promise. And she had brought the future with her. 3 days passed and Dust's End transformed. The Indomitable's cargo shuttles made trip after trip from orbit, bringing down supplies that seemed endless. Food that tasted real, not like the gray fungus or stale pellets. Medicine that actually worked. Equipment to repair the broken water collectors and air purifiers. Solar panels to replace the failing power generators. But the biggest change was hope. People smiled again. Children laughed. The constant fear that had hung over the colony like the red dust began to lift. They weren't abandoned anymore. Someone had come for them. Minji woke up on the second day. Really woke up. Not the half-conscious state she had been in before. The first thing she saw was her mother's face. "Hi, baby," Ji-won said softly. She had barely left Minji's side since arriving. "You came," Minji replied. Her voice was still weak but stronger than before. "I promised, didn't I?" Minji smiled. It was a small smile, tired but real. The ground shook. "I felt it even before I woke up." Ji-won laughed and held her daughter's hand. "Yes, the ground shook. I may have made a rather dramatic entrance." Dr. Sun-hee checked Minji's monitors and nodded with satisfaction. "She's responding well to treatment. Another week and she'll be strong enough to walk around." Hyun sat on the other side of the bed just watching. He had spent so long being the strong one, the protector. Now he could rest. Now someone else could carry that weight. On the third day, Ji-won called a meeting in the settlement's central hall. The building had been cleaned and repaired by her crew. Lights hung from the ceiling, bright and steady. Every colonist who could walk attended. Those who couldn't were connected by video link. Rathnok stood at the back of the room surrounded by 4 of Ji-won's armed soldiers. He had returned that morning under a flag of truce demanding to speak with the captain. She had agreed, but on her terms. Elder Daehyun stood beside Ji-won at the front of the room. He looked 10 years younger than he had a few days ago. "Good food and hope worked miracles. Thank you all for coming," Ji-won began. "I know you have questions. You deserve answers. And you deserve the truth about what's been happening in the galaxy while you were trapped here." She touched a control pad, and a holographic display appeared above the gathering. It showed a map of known space with hundreds of systems marked in different colors. "This is the galaxy as the Galactic Trade Consortium sees it," Ji-won explained. "The blue systems belong to the major powers. The Vreen Hegemony, the Chitauri Collective, the Valorn Unity, and others. The green systems are independent but recognized. The red systems are designated as abandoned or dead." She pointed to Dust's End marked in red. "That's us," someone in the crowd said bitterly. "That was you," Ji-won corrected. "But here's what the consortium doesn't know." The map changed. New systems appeared marked in gold spreading beyond the edge of known space. For 5 years, human exploration ships have been traveling into the deep dark. The areas the established powers haven't explored. We've been finding things. Ancient ruins. Technology left behind by civilizations that fell millions of years ago. And we've been finding allies. Taeyang stepped forward, activating another display. The galaxy's major powers think humans are weak. They think we're a failed experiment, a species that reached for the stars too early. They've been holding us back, giving us the worst territories, charging us the highest prices, treating us like children at best and vermin at worst. But we're not weak, Ji-won continued. We're adaptable. We're determined. We form bonds that other species can't understand. And when we found that ancient technology, we didn't just copy it, we improved it. We combined it with human innovation and created something new. Dr. Sun-hee spoke up from her position near the medical area. The ancient civilization we found was called the Architects. They left behind records, technology, and tests. They said they were looking for inheritors, species with certain qualities. Adaptability, emotional depth, the ability to form strong social bonds, the refusal to give up even in impossible situations. Humanity passed their tests, Ji-won said quietly. The Architects left their technology for us. Not for the Vreen with their rigid hierarchies, not for the Chitauri with their hive minds. For us, for humanity. The room was silent. Colonists stared at the displays, trying to process what they were hearing. That ship in orbit isn't an exploration vessel, Taiyang explained. It's a prototype warship, the first of a new class. We have 10 more under construction, 20 more planned. We've been building them in secret, in systems the consortium doesn't know about. Why secret? Elder Dahyun asked. If we have this power, why hide it? Because we're not ready for open conflict, Jiwon replied. Not yet. We need time to build our strength, to form alliances with other species that the consortium has abandoned or oppressed. We need to be strong enough that when we reveal ourselves, no one will dare attack us. She turned to face Vrathnok. The Chitauri overseer had been listening with all of his eyes focused on the displays. You asked me if I was bluffing, Jiwon said to him. I wasn't, but I want you to understand something. Humanity doesn't want to conquer the galaxy. We don't want to replace the consortium with human rule. We just want to be left alone. We want to protect our people, and we want the galaxy to respect us. Vrathnok's mandibles clicked slowly. The Chitauri government will not accept this. They will see it as a threat. Then they'll learn what happens when they threaten humans, Jiwon replied calmly. But I'm giving you a choice, Vrathnok. You can go back to your government and tell them to prepare for war. Or you can go back and tell them that the Chitauri could benefit from friendship with humanity. Friendship? The overseer sounded skeptical. The Chitauri are miners and builders. You're good at it. The best in the galaxy. Humanity needs those skills as we expand. We could hire Chitauri companies, pay fair prices, treat workers with respect. Or the Chitauri could keep treating humans like disposable creatures and face the consequences. Taiyang activated another display. We're not the only ones who felt abandoned. There are 12 other human colonies that the consortium marked as dead or unprofitable. We're going to rescue all of them. We already have ships en route to 8 of them. By the end of this month, every abandoned human colony will be under protection. And we're offering the same deal to other species. Dr. Sunhee added, there are dozens of races that the consortium treats as inferior. Small populations, limited resources, no political power. We're reaching out to them, offering alliances, technology sharing, mutual defense. Elder Daehyun shook his head in wonder. You're building a new power block. An alliance of the abandoned and forgotten. We're building a family, Jiwon corrected. Because that's what humans do. We form families, communities, alliances based on mutual respect and shared goals. It's our greatest strength, and it's something the consortium doesn't understand. Vrathnok stood silent for a long moment. His guards looked nervous, probably realizing they were standing in the middle of a revelation that would change the galaxy. I will take your message to my government, the overseer finally said. I make no promises about how they will respond. I don't need promises, Jiwon replied. Just make sure they understand the situation clearly. The Chitauri can be our friends or our enemies, but they can't ignore us anymore. No one can ignore humanity anymore. The soldiers escorted Vrathnok back to his ship. It lifted off and left the system within the hour. That evening, Jiwon sat beside Minji's bed again. Her daughter was sitting up now, eating real food with enthusiasm that made Jiwon's heart sing. Mom, Minji said between bites, are we going to be okay now? Yes, baby. We're going to be better than okay. We're going to thrive. Hyun leaned against the wall nearby, watching his mother and sister. What happens to the colony now? We rebuild, Jiwon said. We make Dust Send into a real home. We bring in equipment and people. This will become a strategic location for humanity's expansion, and you two will be part of it. Us? Hyun looked surprised. You survived when everyone else gave up. You kept your sister alive against impossible odds. That's not just luck, Hyun, that's strength. That's the kind of person humanity needs. Minji set down her food. Mom, when you leave again, can we come with you? Jiwon looked at her daughter's eager face and thought about the promises she had made 5 years ago. She had promised to come back, and she had kept that promise. But she had also missed 5 years of her children's lives. She had left them in danger. When I leave, Jiwon said carefully, you're both coming with me. I'm not leaving you behind again, ever. Hyun's eyes widened. On the Indomitable? In space? On the Indomitable, seeing the galaxy, learning what humanity can really do. As soon as Minji is strong enough to travel. Minji grinned, and in that smile, Jiwon saw the future. Not just for her daughter, but for all of humanity. They had been broken and abandoned, left to die on forgotten worlds. But they had survived. They had grown stronger. And now they would show the galaxy what it meant to threaten a human's family. 6 months later, Dust's End looked like a different world. The red dust still blew, it always would. But now there were buildings designed to withstand it. Transparent domes covered growing areas where real vegetables grew in rich soil brought from other worlds. Water flowed freely from advanced purification systems. Children played in clean, well-lit rooms while their parents worked at jobs that actually paid fair wages. The colony population had grown to 500. New arrivals came every week. Humans who wanted to be part of this new beginning. Engineers, doctors, teachers, farmers. People who believed in what Dust's End represented. Minji walked through the central plaza without help for the first time in months. She had gained weight. Her arms no longer looked like sticks, and her eyes were bright with curiosity. Hyun walked beside her, protective as always, but no longer desperate. "Look at that," Minji said, pointing to a new building under construction. "Mr. Daehyun said it's going to be a real school, with computers and everything. Are you going to attend?" Hyun asked. "Maybe. But Mom said we're leaving soon. Going into space with her?" Hyun smiled. He had barely believed it at first, but their mother had kept her word. The Indomitable had stayed in orbit, its crew helping to rebuild the colony while Minji recovered. Now she was ready. They were both ready. Elder Daehyun approached them wearing clean clothes and looking healthier than he had in years. He had been officially appointed as governor of Dust's End by the new human government that was forming beyond the consortium's borders. "Your mother is looking for you," he told them. Big news just came in. They found G1 in what used to be the old storage building and was now a proper command center. Screens covered the walls showing data from across multiple systems. Taeyang and Dr. Sunhee stood with her, all three looking at a particular display. "What's happening?" Hyun asked. Ji-won turned and smiled. "The Galactic Trade Consortium has sent a delegation. They want to meet with humanity's representatives. Officially. Is that good?" Minji asked. "It's everything," Ji-won replied. "It means they're finally taking us seriously. They can't ignore us anymore." The delegation arrived 2 days later. Their ship was elegant and diplomatic. Nothing like the rough cargo vessels the colonists remembered. 5 aliens stepped off the landing ramp, representing different species from across the consortium. The leader was a Valorn, a species known for their diplomatic skills. She was tall and slender, with skin that shimmered with colors that shifted with her emotions. Her name was Corrales, and she wore robes that marked her as an official ambassador. "Governor Daehyun," Corrales said formally. "Captain Ji-won, we come under flag of peace to discuss the situation that has developed." They met in the new conference room, a space that hadn't existed 6 months ago. Vrathnok was there too, standing quietly in one corner. He had become an unofficial liaison between the Chitauri and humans, much to his own surprise. Corrales sat across from Ji-won and looked at her with eyes that held both respect and concern. "The consortium has been watching the developments in this sector with great interest. The rescue of 12 abandoned colonies, the formation of new alliances with minor species, the demonstration of advanced technology. These things have not gone unnoticed." "I should hope not," Ji-won replied calmly. That was rather the point. Some within the consortium see humanity as a threat. They believe you're building an army to attack established powers. They're wrong. We're building a defense to protect ourselves. There's a difference. Corrales' skin shifted to a thoughtful blue color. "Is there?" From the outside, the distinction can be difficult to see. Taeyang leaned forward. "Let me ask you something, Ambassador. When the consortium abandoned these colonies, did anyone protest? Did anyone say that leaving humans to die was wrong?" The Valorn was silent for a moment. "No, it was seen as an economic decision. The colonies were not profitable." "Human lives were not profitable," Dr. Sunhee corrected sharply. "That's what you mean." The consortium looked at dying children and decided saving them wasn't worth the cost. "I understand your anger," Corrales said, "and I admit that the consortium made mistakes. But threatening war is not the solution." "We're not threatening war," Ji-won said. "We're demanding respect. The consortium can give us that or we'll take it. Those are the only options." Another alien in the delegation spoke up. He was from a species called the Dremori, traders who controlled much of the galaxy's commerce. "You speak of respect, but you've destroyed Chitauri property, violated Vreen space, and hidden your military capabilities. These are not the actions of a species seeking peaceful relations. These are the actions of a species that's tired of being stepped on," Hyun said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. He hadn't planned to speak, but the anger had built up too much. "You left us here to die, all of us. children, families, people who had done nothing wrong except trust that the galaxy would keep its promises. And when my mother came to save us, you call it threatening. You call it wrong? Minji stood beside her brother. I was dying. I was 8 years old and starving to death because your consortium decided we weren't worth saving. My mom crossed half the galaxy to keep her promise to me. That's what humans do. We keep our promises. Maybe you should try it. Corralis's skin shifted to a warm orange color. Approval, if Jiwan remembered the color meanings correctly. You've raised strong children, Captain, the ambassador said, and they make a fair point. The consortium has not treated humanity well. We have underestimated you, dismissed you, and in cases like this abandoned you. For that I apologize. Apologies are nice, Jiwan replied, but what we need are actions. What do you want? Jiwan stood and activated a display. First, recognition. Humanity is no longer a minor species to be ordered around. We want a seat at the Consortium Council with full voting rights. That will be difficult to arrange, Corralis said, but possible. Second, freedom of movement. Human ships can travel through any space without restriction. We're not asking for territory, just the right to move freely. Also possible, though the Vreen will protest. The Vreen can learn to deal with it, Taiyang said. They attacked us first, G1 continued. Third, fair trade. No more pricing humans out of resources we need. No more discrimination in commerce. Equal treatment in all economic matters. Corralis made a note on her data pad. The Dremori control most trade. They will need to agree. The Dremori delegate nodded slowly. We can agree to fair trade. Humans have proven they can be valuable partners, and honestly, having access to your new technology would benefit us all. We're willing to share some technology, Dr. Sunhee said, but not all of it, not yet. You need to earn that trust. Fair enough, Corralis replied. Is there anything else? Yes, Jiwan said quietly. Protection for all species the consortium has abandoned or oppressed. New rules that prevent what happened here from happening again. If a colony fails economically, help them relocate. Don't just leave them to die. That will be expensive, the Dremori pointed out. Life is expensive, Minji said, but it's worth it. Corralis looked at the young girl for a long moment. Then she stood and bowed slightly. I will take these demands to the Consortium Council. I cannot promise they will accept all of them, but I will argue in your favor. What you've done here, Captain Jiwan, is remarkable. You've taken a dying colony and given it hope. You've shown that humanity is stronger than we believed. Perhaps it's time the galaxy learned that lesson. The delegation left with promises to return within a month, with the consortium's response. Vrathnok lingered after they departed. You've changed the galaxy, he said to Jiwan. The Chitauri government has agreed to your terms. We will offer fair contracts to human colonies for mining and construction work. We will treat your people with respect. Good, Jiwan replied. See that you do. I have a question, though. That day I came here when you threatened war, were you bluffing? Could you really have fought the entire Chitauri fleet? Jiwan smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant smile. Do you really want to know the answer to that question? Vrathnok's mandibles clicked nervously. No, I don't think I do. He left quickly after that. That evening, the entire colony gathered for a celebration. Real food had been prepared, music played from speakers, and for the first time in years, people danced. Jiwan watched from the edge of the gathering, Minji sleeping against her shoulder and Hyun sitting beside her. We did it, Hyun said quietly. We actually survived. You did more than survive, Jiwan replied. You showed the galaxy what humans are made of. You held on when anyone else would have given up. That's not just survival, that's triumph. Minji stirred slightly. Mom? She mumbled, half asleep. I'm here, baby. Are we really going to see the stars? Yes, tomorrow we board the Indomitable. We're going to explore to discover new things to show the galaxy everything humanity can do. Good, Minji said, settling back against her mother. I want to see everything. The next morning, the three of them walked up the ramp of the Indomitable together. The crew lined up to welcome them, saluting not just their captain but the children who had become symbols of human resilience. The ship lifted off smoothly, rising through the red dust clouds into the clear space above. Minji pressed her face against a viewport, watching Dust's End shrink below them. The colony was safe now, protected, thriving.